Welcome to the Professor's discussion for Chapter 9. Because we've invested so much in hiring and developing our employees, we need to also focus our efforts on retaining those who perform well. The goal of managing careers in an organization is to keep good employees, identify future opportunities for them, and ultimately to increase their sense of engagement. Of course, this doesn't always happen, and there will be instances where we need to terminate the employment of those individuals whose performance or behavior does not meet the standards that are set by us. We're going to learn about the topics of career management from a manager's perspective. Ultimately, the responsibility for career management falls onto the employee, but the manager and the organization should provide support and tools to help gather information, experience, and opportunity for advancement. Because we're exiting from the Great Recession, it's our responsibility to retain employees that do a great job. Unemployment rates are falling, and hiring is on the rise at many employers, for the first time in several years for many of them. Employees now feel that they have options when it comes to where they work. This is also a topic that you can gain a lot of personal perspective on if you are still seeking what your career will look like in the future. We define a career as the occupational positions a person has had over many years. Recessions, mergers, outsourcing, consolidations, and seemingly continuous downsizing have changed the rules for many of us today. More often, employees find themselves having to reinvent themselves in order to remain productive in the workforce. Hence, we've gone more from a ladder to more of a matrix. Career management is the responsibility of the employee, the manager, and the organization. But as we'll see, it is ultimately the employee who must accept the end responsibility for what it is that they do in their career. Responsibility. Well, as in other parts of life, an individual accepts the responsibility for his or her own career, and that starts today. Work to become aware of your skills, your interests, your knowledge, and your motivations, and act on those answers in order to find your spot in the career universe. You can use the tools that are listed in the chapter or within our Career Services Department to assess your interests, your skills, and your values. You can take steps to ensure yourself a happy and fulfilling career, which is a combination of what you're passionate about, what you're talented at, and the future for those positions within the workforce. One way to do that is to find a mentor who can be a good sounding board. Mentoring programs and activities can be either formal or informal. While each individual employee might have different interests and career aspirations, employers and managers should provide career development support and training. Let's discuss these concepts in a little bit more detail. Employers can support career development in many different ways. That means for helping to further an employee's career, it depends on the length of time that the employee has been with the firm. This doesn't need to be a complicated process. An employee receiving performance feedback and an individual development plan can make an enormous difference in their overall performance. In addition, having access to general skills training not related to their job will contribute to satisfaction and engagement. However, a large portion of companies don't provide these services. Another barrier is for women. Women report greater barriers, such as being excluded from informal networks, than do men. They also have more difficulty getting developmental assignments and mobility opportunities. Many call this combination of subtle and not so subtle barriers to progress the glass ceiling. Organizations need to be aware of it and try to eliminate it. The manager can do several things to support their employees' career development needs. This includes scheduling a regular performance appraisal. Managers must also make their expectations clear, and then they must focus on the extent to which the employee's current skills and performance match their known career aspirations. So we as managers have a large part in the course of one's career over an employee's lifetime. This means that we need to continually develop and refine our role in this process. Coaching and the closely related mentoring are key managerial skills. Coaching means educating, instructing, and training subordinates in what it is that they're supposed to be doing today. Mentoring means advising, counseling, and guiding employees for what they might be capable of tomorrow. Coaching focuses on teaching short-term job-related skills. Mentoring focuses on helping employees navigate long-term career hazards or opportunities. Both coaching and mentoring require analytical and interpersonal skills. They require analysis because you have to identify where skill gaps are. And they require interpersonal skills because it's futile to know the problem if you can't get the person to listen to you or change. We can best think of coaching in terms of a 4-step process: preparation, planning, active coaching, and follow-up. Preparation means understanding the problem, the employee, and the employee's skills. Planning the solution is next. In practice, you would lay out a change plan in the form of steps to take, the measures of success, and what the completion dates are. With an agreement on a plan, you can start the actual coaching. In essence, you're the teacher. Finally, bad habits sometimes reemerge, and it's therefore necessary to follow up and reobserve the person's progress periodically. Managing careers is also about those who leave. Your text defines turnover as the rate at which employees leave the firm. So, for example, a turnover rate of 50% means that we have to replace 1/2 of the workforce annually. Turnover is a very expensive cost for organizations. Studies show that it can cost anywhere between 1.5 to 5 times an employee's annual salary to replace them. Working in conjunction with our HR staff, we need to identify and manage the reasons for both voluntary and involuntary turnover. Voluntary turnover is where the employee leaves on their own terms, and it usually occurs for many reasons. For some reason, the employee has a high degree of job dissatisfaction. This could be coming up in terms of poor pay or poor benefits, few promotional opportunities, or perhaps an inadequate work-life balance. So in order to get good employees to stay with us, we need to determine exactly why they are leaving to begin with. Turnover is one problem, but withdrawal is another form of a negative impact on our workforce. Job withdrawal usually happens before turnover, and it's a physical or psychological distance between the employee and the organization. It means that we're not engaged and we're either dissatisfied or we're fearful. Managing the almost limitless reasons an employee can become dissatisfied requires a complete and effective human resources system. In a career, employees typically hope for some sort of promotion or transfer into a more challenging and rewarding position. Promotions usually provide opportunities to reward the exceptional performance of tested employees. 4 important rules impact the effectiveness of our promotion decisions. Decision 1 is where we need to decide, will promotions be based on seniority or competence? Today's focus on competitiveness favors competence. However, union agreements and civil service regulations often emphasize seniority. Decision 2 is, how should we measure the competence? We start with defining the job, setting standards, and using one or more of the appraisal tools to record the employee's performance. Then we have to come up with a valid procedure for predicting the candidate's potential for future performance. Decision 3 is to determine whether or not this process is formal or informal. Each firm will determine whether their promotion process will be according to a strict job posting guideline or something that happens between employee and manager. Decision number 4 we make is exactly to label what is a promotion and a transfer. Movement within an organization can be vertical, horizontal, or in some other direction. Promotions can be vertical within the same functional area or even horizontal in different functional areas. So there are several practice steps that should be taken by employers and managers during this process. We want to make sure that we establish eligibility requirements, review the job description, review the candidate's performance and history, and promote those only who meet the requirements. Remember that employer promotions must comply with all anti-discrimination and equal employment opportunities laws. Involuntary turnover is inevitable. When jobs are restructured or when competitive or economic pressures necessitate reductions in the workforce, an employer will have to let some employees go. However, dismissals due to poor performance sometimes are avoidable. There are typically 4 reasons, one of which is usually the reason for dismissal. One is unsatisfactory performance. This includes things such as the person can't do her job or won't do their job, and it might include also other indications such as excessive absenteeism, tardiness, or a bad attitude. The second reason for dismissal is misconduct. This is a deliberate violation of the rules and is also known as insubordination. The third reason might be a lack of a qualification that the person is unable to do their job. And then the fourth reason could be changed requirements. This often happens in terms of technology, where the nature of the job is changed and the person is no longer able to do the job. Now, during this process, managers need to avoid what's called wrongful discharge, and that is where the dismissal doesn't comply with either employment regulation or the rules set forth by the organization.